I think there's a number of motivators. One of them certainly is the opportunity to make a little extra, as Sunil said, to offset your car costs. I think people also believe in the long-term vision of the company, which would be to have a net effect in reducing vehicle miles traveled and greenhouse gas and emission reduction as well.
But how does that really work? So if I hop in Lyft, and that car might have otherwise been sitting in the garage, I might have taken a taxi, the taxi's still out there driving around, so it's possible that this could actually increase greenhouse gases, more cars buzzing around. Rather than let my car sit in the garage, I'm gonna go drive it and make some money.
Yeah, that's a great question. And this is actually something we've talked a lot about with Susan in the past. I believe initially with car sharing, there was a similar problem when you had these vehicles available to people who maybe otherwise did not have a vehicle available. You were initially putting more cars on the road, but in the long term, once you reached a critical mass, you were having an overall positive net effect, and that would be our long-term vision as well.
Is that true? Is that what happened, Susan?
Yeah, yeah. A lot of times the early adopters of car sharing systems in a city are people who never had access to a car. So it's not surprising then to see an increase in vehicle miles traveled. But where the real gain and opportunity is for reduction in vehicle miles traveled is to actually get people to sell cars or to postpone car purchases. And one of our recent studies, which included City Car Share as well as all of the major car sharing companies, revealed that one car sharing vehicle takes 9 to 13 vehicles off the road and actually causes people to sell 4 to 6 vehicles of that 9 to 13. This is where we see from the metrics, the data having a net effect, where some people are actually from zero car households, but the total net effect is actually positive towards the environment. This recent study showed approximately a 43% reduction in CO2 emissions as a result of those postponed as well as actual car purchases.
Rick Hutchinson, you also have some data on city car share and its impact and what it displaces in terms of carbon and vehicles miles traveled.
Right. So in the Bay Area, we're basically ground central here for car sharing, ride sharing, peer-to-peer car sharing. There are more companies here in the Bay Area offering services that allow people not to have to own a car, or at least to get rid of a car. For city car share, we've been experiencing that for years. In fact, about 2/3 of our members say that they either sold a car or delayed buying a car once they join us. A study done by Robert Severo back in the early 2000s, finished in 2006, is basically it's the only longitudinal study that I know of, unless you know something else. And it showed cars taken off the road. It showed that a greener ride, meaning greener cars, can have a material impact on reduction of greenhouse gas emissions. City car share last year, and this is based on the Severo report and on work that Susan Shaheen has done, as well as Nelson Nygaard. We saved about 80 million pounds of CO2 emissions. Every day, 80,000 fewer miles are driven on Bay Area roads due to city car share members. You asked the question earlier about growth. There's been tremendous growth. When I joined in 2005, I had number 3,205 actually. Last year, we issued number 40,000. So there's been tremendous growth in car sharing. Every single one of those members is likely to have gotten rid of a car, not buying a car, or is thinking about getting rid of another car. So therefore you have not only reduction in greenhouse gas emissions, but in all of the CO2 that is released in actually the production of those vehicles that would have been purchased.
And you claim that your nonprofit car sharing service is actually greener than for-profit car sharing services. How?
Well, I don't claim it. I'm using some study information that came out of a Susan Shaheen study that showed that, this is back in 2008, that showed that nonprofit car sharing organizations do save more greenhouse gas emissions than for-profits. Now, what's the reason for that? I think there's several reasons for it, and the main one from City Car Share's point of view is that we just have the greenest fleet in the industry. 45% of our cars are hybrids, plug-in electric vehicles, or electric vehicles. When we look at just based on EPA standards, that our fleet is about 35 to 40% more fuel and emission efficient than the standard car on the road today.